Hello, I'm Dr. Arno Kroner. I'd like to give you an overview of my course in Duì Yaò, the art and science of herbs pairing.
So let's get started. Here's a little bit about me as a teacher. I've got a lot of experience in teaching. I focus on clinical relevance and evidence-based, but also I want to teach students how to think for themselves. So understanding Dui Yao, that's a secret architecture of traditional Chinese medicine. What is Dui Yao? So it's coupled medicines or herb pairings, and it's the art of combining two specific substances to achieve a clinical effect that is pretty much a synergy. And it is also the foundational building block of complex herbal architecture. So it's the smallest unit in a formula. So we have A and B. It makes one Dui Yao unit, and then it enters very often a more complex formula with 10 or more herbs. In terms of education, I think it's a bridge of knowledge that's always been missing from TCM schools, because we learn single herbs, then we jump to formulas, but we don't understand the building blocks of formulas. So I think it's really important to start with the basics, and even for your own practice, to just be able to assemble small blocks in order to refine treatment. It is a synergy. So here I put a couple of pairs. Two are classical pairs. We have Ma Wang and Jing Ren, and the other one is Shu Di Wang and Shanju Yu. But we also have a more modern one. It's a mushroom, Ji Song Yang, forgive my spelling, and Shanja. And this one in particular is often used in TCM for metabolic support. We got Ma Wang and Jing Ren. This is a classic one. It's the synergy of ascending and descending, the rhythm of long qi. So it's used as an exterior formula. This one is used for metabolic regulation. And this one is it's found in UAD 1-1, for instance. So it ensures that the yin is not only built, but successfully retained. And we'll go over more of those principles later. Now, in this course, I focus, of course, on the classical representation of Dui Yao. We go over some history. We also include the 8 or 7 relationships, which are the interactions between the herbs. Now, I've only put 38 pairs in the course because I started with the H.P. Kim Handbook of Oriental Medicine, and there's 100 pairs in there in the table. There's actually even more pairs if you do some research. So I try to pare it down to only 38 high-yield pairings filtered from the 100 pairs. I also focus extensively on the biochemistry and the pharmacokinetics of the pairs by bringing out the research that's been done in that area using modern science. And we have an interesting tool that I'll demo later. It's the Dui Yao Composer, which is modeled after somehow a visual effects compositing system where we assemble nodes to obtain an effect. That's why it's called the Composer. We also have a lot of mini case studies, full case studies, and a final self-assessment, which is sort of gamified, but that's what makes it fun. So that's the module breakdown. We start with the fundamentals, and then we go over all the categories that I've sort of identified or aggregated in some areas. Like, for instance, you'll see that I put astringents with purgative in order to have a limited amount of categories. Now, the 7 relationships. So this is the core engine of Dui Yao. So I would like you to think of it as actors or characters in a play or a movie or even a soap opera. So you're going to have people who have chemistry that makes them incompatible, antagonistic, suppressing each other, or there's going to be accentuation or enhancement or transformation. So it's the relationship between the herbs. And I think it's essential to look at Dui Yao that way, because then we carry this notion into more complex formula building. So I also have in the course some interactive modules, such as this one. We have you can choose an herb and another one and see what would be the interaction if they are a Dui Yao pair. So it's sort of a game. Now let's take a sample module. So I chose Guizhou and Baishao for this overview, and we can see here that they have different personalities. One is hot and one is cool. one will release the exterior and the other one is going to conserve the yin. So that's how they work in tandem. They work together as a team. In terms of modern pharmacology, for this pair, we'll find that they have individual components, and it's been shown that those components, when they work together, actually produce an anti-inflammatory effect that will go to suppressing cytokines in a wind cold, for instance. So here we also, in the same framework, bring out what is, I have something called a research explorer. So every pair, we can see what is the pharmacology, we bring out the papers, we can see what are the chemical and pharmacokinetic synergy, and I have some systematic reviews as well. Now, in terms also visualization, I'm really keen on showing visually what everything does. So that's another type of chart that I created in order to visualize and help you learn the dimensions, the vectors, the interactions, and how the herbs either enhance each other, complement each other, transform each other. So it's all about the relationships again. So finally, for our pair here, we got the effect that they do harmonize yin and wei. So one opens the exterior and the other one closes but nourishes and astringes, so that the patient is not drained by the action of the first herb. So that's a perfect balance. The clinical applications of that pair: sweaty cold, wind cold, but also abdominal pain, post-illness. It's also been used for arthritis and a lot of other applications, actually, if you start sifting through all the evidence that's been published out there. In terms of dosages, for each pair, we go over dosages. This one is a very straightforward one because it's usually one-on-one. But in more complex formulas, the ratio of guizhou to baishou can be a little different depending on the other herbs and the role that the pair plays in those more complex formulas. And finally, for each pair, I always give the more advanced formulas of which they are a building block, a Lego block, if you will. Now, the Duì Yaò composer. So I'm going to give you a short demo now of how it works. So I'll leave you to it, and I hope it's fun.
Here, a demo of the Duì Yaò composer. As I explained before, here you can assemble herbs in pairs. So let's take our pair, baishou and guizhou. So I just took baishou, dropped it onto the canvas, which is right here, and then I got guizhou and I put those two together, and with a wire I connect them, and then the program gives me the downward network of effects and synergy over the pair. So it's a bit of a toy, but it's really fun to play with. So let's do another pair. Let's take Fuling and Baizhu. So we can put those two together here, we connect them with a wire, and then we get a downstream effect. And the canvas is infinite, and you can always create as many pairs as you want. But let's say you want to create a pair that's not a pair technically. So let's take Fuling and, well, probably Dangui, it's probably not a pair, and then connect those two together. It's going to tell you not a traditional pair. We can also immediately maybe create another one from the herbs I have here for the demo. Let's say Wang Chen and Chai Hu. We'll have this, and then we get another network that is going to give us some information about the pair. So it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit like a toy, but it's a teaching tool. It's probably not something we'd be using in the clinic, but I think it's a fairly interesting teaching tool. And yeah, it's a bit like a game, but it's a lot of fun.
So for each pair, I provide you with mini case studies. So they're sort of like vignette cases. In this case, you can read, we have a 40-year-old male which presents with a bunch of symptoms. His pulse is floaty and wiring, and his tongue has a thin white coat and slightly red edges. Which one would you use? Chayu and Guizhe. And then the cases progress. So because the situation is never fixed in place, and this gives us the opportunity of modifying the first Dui Yao, maybe by adding another Dui Yao. So let's see how this goes. This time he's got a qi stagnation complication. So the chills are gone, so that's been resolved, but now he's super irritable and he sighs constantly and he had a bitterness in his mouth and so forth. His tongue, you can imagine his pulse would probably be super wiry. So his tongue is reddish body, especially on the side and the liver area, and the coat is starting to turn yellow, which tells us that there's heat coming up. So which one would you use? To modify the first one, it's an addition, so we add one. In this case, it's Wang Qin and Zhe Ke. So I really like those small cases because they allow us to start using pairs as Legos, as building blocks. Now, what's the final part? Now, the weekend has gone and he ate a lot of greasy food, and now he has sticky sensation in the mouth and he's constipated, and the abdominal pressure is going downward, and his tongue now is greasy yellow coating covering the center and the root. So what do you think? Which one would we add? Well, I think it's pretty straightforward because we would add Bangjia and Da Wang. In our case, is managed successfully. So, conclusion. So, what are your next steps in learning in this journey? So, I'm trying to offer clinical precision in this class by focusing on small modules and what can assemble to build a system. I'm also focusing, obviously, as usual, on the root cause. We want to address the foundation of medicine, not just with the herbs, but we should also look at the whole person. But okay, this is focused on herbs. And I want this to be applicable in clinical practice by applying timeless, really ancient, but also evidence-based principle to help you heal your patients. Now, to enroll, well, there's live learning. I go to schools, conferences, integrative medicine clinics, and wellness retreats. So that's live. I like live. And then there's also online learning through CU providers on my website. I can offer small webinars, or I can also design custom modules. Thank you for your attention. That was the last slide, and I hope to see you in the class.
Yay, you made it that far. Thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting. I hope to see you in the course. If you want more information, there is an URL on the left of the screen at drkroner.com/Dui Yao, where you can download the slides, download the course outline. And I just want to say it's a really fun class. There's lots of interactive tools. There's lots of evidence-based information. And I think it can benefit a lot of practitioners interested in root cause medicine using herbal compounds, Dui Yaos. So thanks for watching again, and take care. Bye.